Good evening, everyone. My name is Seymour, and the topic tonight that I'm going to talk about, the title is Creating Walkers Out of Talkers. And I chose that title because I figured in this venue that you would all understand that pretty clearly. Because my first title was How to Find the Indian in a Room Full of Chiefs. What I'm going to address is sort of in line with what Peggy had, and that's volunteering, leadership. And this particular class that we are in is about leadership. So where do we go from here? We learn to speak, we learn to lead. And then how do we go about doing that? How do we be successful as a leader? I've had many experiences. I've been fortunate to be on numerous boards. And I've seen boards that work, and I've seen boards that don't work. So I thought I would share just a couple points with you that would help you when you get into that point of getting onto a board or maybe starting a small committee. Even in our church, we have committees that do various things. And getting involved with those things require some planning. When you're doing something bigger, you need to have a mission statement. What is the purpose of this committee? What are you going to do? Just like our church, we have our mission statement. Most organizations have a mission statement of some sort. So you have to first establish what that is. And then you look for people that will get involved. And then you also have to look at the people that are getting involved. Because you have to be able to delegate. One of the biggest things that leaders tend to do is forget what it's like when you're a follower. Because sometimes I've seen leaders get into a mode of all of a sudden it's all their way or no way. Forgetting that when they weren't a leader, what promoted them to a leader was the innovations that they provided and the extra energy that they put into things. So as a leader, you don't want to stifle that stuff. You want to give the people in your group, committee, organization, foundation, whatever it is, the opportunity to get involved and share points of view. Now, how do we deal with the clash? Remember, especially what I found in foundations and some of the bigger foundations, and that's why I chose the title of Too Many Chiefs in the Room, because a lot of times on foundation boards, it's local leaders, local business owners, and they all have an idea of how they want things done. And they all want to have it done their way. I'm currently in a leadership program with the City of Seymour Valley. There's 15 of us in this group, and we're all business owners. And the first couple meetings fascinated me, because everybody said this is the way it should go and didn't want to listen to anybody else's opinion. And that doesn't make things move very smoothly. One of the things that you have to do is you have to sort of relax and listen to what everybody else has to say. Share your points of view, even if you know that that point of view may not be the one that's going to be the final decision. You have an idea. Do you know how many times that people have put out an idea that has stimulated a thought in another person to come up with something off of what you said to make a better idea? And that wouldn't have happened if you didn't present your idea first. So it's important that you share what you know and give input. But on the other side of the coin, you have to realize that sometimes that input won't be used. And you have to accept that without letting your ego get in the way. Because I see it happen all too often. And it just creates animosity in the group, and it slows down the mission. The point is to work with people and get to know them. When people get on a committee or on a board, all too often people don't spend the time to learn more about each individual person. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you love to do? What doesn't float your boat? Because that helps you start to understand what you have in your group and who you look to for certain things. As an example, for our leadership class, we had to do a fundraiser. part of that fundraising was to go out and get gifts from places to donate for our fundraiser, so that we could have a silent auction. My biggest fear is cold call. I will not do a cold call to save my life. So I spoke up and said, look, this isn't my strength. I will go with somebody and assist them in that, but this is not a strength that I have. So right away, I related that this is something where I'm not going to be the strong person in this, but I'll work with somebody else and help them as they are the door opener. So by doing that, I still stay involved, I still get things done, and I look for opportunities later on to get involved and take more control. As we have progressed and had our fundraiser, our final project was to do some revamping at the free clinic. Now, it just so happens that I have a pretty good construction background. Nobody else in our group has a construction background. So when they said, we want you to replace all the inside doors with solid core doors, I was the only one that had the answers to that question. So my strengths then became useful in the group. I was able to guide them and show them and teach them on what was necessary to accomplish our goal. So all that stuff is very, very important. Getting to know the people in your group, knowing what they can do and what they can't do. And that is dealing with egos. And sometimes you do have issues, and how do you deal with those issues? You look at each issue individually, and you work with the person and you negotiate with the person because you're looking for a win-win situation. There's three situations. There's win-win, win-lose, and lose-lose. In a lose-lose, you end up, both of you are not happy with the end result. In a win-lose, one of you is not happy with the end result. The point is to negotiate and work towards an agreement that serves everybody. That's a win-win. So that's something that you want to focus on when you're putting together your groups or organizations, or even getting into an organization. Because all of that stuff will help you to meet your goal, your mission. And everybody wants to be helpful. I mean, that's why they're coming to these boards and nonprofit organizations and committees, because they want to be helpful. And you have to recognize that in the people. But to do it properly, you have to get to know them a little bit, get to understand them. I've been in some organizations where when you ask to sign up with them, you fill out a form that talks about what you've accomplished, what you haven't done, what you like, what you don't like, what your hobbies are. All those little things give them ideas of where you fit into the group, whether or not you're a good fit for that organization. And sometimes you're not a good fit. Sometimes you get in an organization and you find that, you know what, where they're headed isn't where I thought they were headed, and that's not what I want. So you step aside and let somebody else in that can be of help. But as leaders, you have to look at the big picture. What is it that you want to accomplish? And how is it that you're going to get this thing done? Working through all of these steps will help you to have a strong committee and a successful conclusion. That's what you're looking for. Now, for all of this stuff, it's all negotiations, even when you're working, for example, for our committee, we had to work with the free clinic. They said, these are all the things that we want done. And of course we said, okay, well, we've only raised this much money, so we can't do all of those things because this is how much money we have. So what we set up was a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, and that was set up before we raised the money. We understood what our goal was, and we understood that in these times it's a little bit more difficult to raise money. So we said, if we raise this much money, these are the things that we can accomplish for your center. If we raise this much, these are the additional things we can accomplish for your center. And we were very fortunate that we're getting approximately 90% of the things that they wanted done. So by having a plan on the front end and working with everybody and working out the kinks, everything starts to fall into place. So, as a leader, where is it that you want to go from here? How is it that you want to lead? What is it that you want to get across to people as a leader? Do you know what your goals are? Do you know what makes you happy? Because that's a critical piece. Are you happy doing this? And getting involved in the community is so important, especially in today's world. There's so many challenges out there. There are so many committees and groups and organizations in this city that you can get involved in. And there's bound to be one that fits you. Look around, check them out. Find out where it is that you fit. And then take some of the leadership skills that you have learned and apply them to be a productive member of that organization. And sometimes being a productive member of that organization will put you up into the leadership position. When I was on the fire department, I got onto the board for the fire department, and I started out in a lower position. Eventually, I became the chairman of the fire department board. But I took what I learned from all of the levels that I went through and from all of the people that I worked with, so that when I became the chairman, I didn't forget where I came from. Because too often that happens. Don't forget where you came from. Keep in mind what their point of view is and give them an opportunity. Be supportive. Sometimes people have issues, especially in life today when you're volunteering. Volunteers are a little bit more difficult to deal with than paid employees, because you can say you're going to do this or you get fired. Well, you don't do that with a volunteer. Volunteers are giving you the best time that they can give you, and you have to learn to work with that. So you have to be adaptable. You have to be supportive and encouraging so that they want to continue volunteering with that organization. And then, of course, there's the issue of recognition. Now, when it comes to recognition, this particular point is debatable between a lot of people. A lot of people say, well, I don't need to be recognized because I just do this because I love doing it. And that's true for a lot of us. We don't need the recognition. But it feels good when you get it. Even if it's a small thing, it feels good. Last Monday I was late because I had to go to the city council meeting, and I got 2 certificates because I helped last year in the reduction of homeless population in Simi Valley. I didn't expect that. I didn't need it. But it was nice to have. It's nice to look back and say, hey, I accomplished something, and it's recognizable. So that, as a recognition, works wonders. Because that makes me feel good, even though I didn't need it, but it encourages me to continue to do more. It doesn't have to be a big thing. You don't need to buy them a Cadillac. You just need to recognize what it is that they have done for your organization and be thankful for that. Because that is the thing that keeps them involved and keeps them interested. So all of that is success. And that recognizing people in their success ends up having recognition for the organization's success. Because when they're successful, the organization is successful. And then that's recognized, and that makes it a viable organization. So, as leaders, we recap. To be a leader, first, get involved. Understand what strengths you have and what strengths you don't have. Relay that so that they understand where you are. Learn from others in the group where they are. Look at the issue of dealing with the different egos. Remember, a lot of times you're in a room full of chiefs. Somebody's got to get something done. So recognize that. and work with them. That will help. And finally, recognition. A little compliment, a little slip of paper at the end, anything that says, we appreciate what you did, and that keeps the person involved.